bipolar junction transistor, which is a fully controlled category device. So you can turn on and off by providing suitable base drive. So if you provide positive current, it will turn it on. Negative current, it will turn it off. And generally, we prefer NPN kind of BJT. Remember, BJT you have already learned in your previous years. So there are two categories: PNP and NPN. And NPN is used mostly. PNP is not used. So try to figure out why is that. I think most of you already know the answer, of course. So remember, with respect to your logic level BJT, the main difference is here. So you add another additional drift region of lightly doped intensity, and due to this region, you will see there is a difference in the switching characteristics. And you have to remember this: the blocking behavior or the current carrying behavior of BJT is like this. So it can block forward voltage till you give the base drive current. So it is in cutoff region. Once you turn on you give some base current, it will turn on, and then the current in the device will depend on your circuit condition. But remember, BJT cannot block reverse voltage. So it can only handle forward voltage. If reverse voltage come across it, it can withstand very little amount of reverse voltage, but not significant amount. So generally, they are not preferred for circuits where reverse voltage may come across it. Right? So you have to be very careful with them. And as usual, the thickness of drift region will determine this breakdown voltage. So if you want to increase breakdown voltage, you increase the thickness of this drift region. But due to this drift region, your effective resistance goes up. The current amplification factor comes down. So it's a design trade-off. If you want higher current, you generally connect BJT in a fashion known as Darlington pair. I think most of you are familiar with this structure. So the difference between a typical logic level BJT and this power BJT is that you have this extra quasi-saturation region. So which happens is that if you remember normal BJT operation, when it is cut off, that means both the junctions are reverse bias. When you are in active region, this junction is forward bias, this junction is reverse bias, right? So this active region is similar to your normal logic level BJT. So in active region also there will be some current flow. If you keep on increasing your base current, so this charge carrier now will try to shift towards this space charge. You will try to shift towards this drift region, and once it does that, basically you enter in a zone called quasi-saturation. And when this entire drift region is flooded by the charge carriers, then you reach this hard saturation. So in power electronic application, we would like to operate the switch in this hard saturation when it is on, and in the cutoff zone when it is off. Whereas in linear kind of application, you want your transistor to be operating in active zone. In power electronic system, we don't want active zone. We want either cutoff or the hard saturation. Yeah, my pen is creating problem. And this characteristics, I believe, you are very familiar with this. The concept of load line is also should be pretty clear to you. In the next slide, I have given for revision purpose, I have mentioned the load line, so you can go through it. So if you remember, this load line is basically if you have a voltage source and a resistance. So this combination is your linear part. If you connect a non-linear element here, so for this part, this IV characteristics is represented by this load line, and this non-linear part, this IV characteristics is shown in this black color if you are using a power BJT. So their intersection point will determine the operating condition, right? So if you want your, for example, let's say for a given V in and this RL, this is the load line. So if you want to operate in active zone, you'll be selecting a base current, something like this, or maybe IB2. But if you keep in the base current, you'll be ending up situation like here. So then you are entering into hard saturation and quasi saturation. So this is why generally we will prefer to give as high gate current as possible, so that we reach the hard saturation zone. So basically in hard saturation, what is happening is that your drift region is again flooded by the charge carriers, and the effective resistance of this entire zone is coming down. As a result, your VCE saturation is also pretty low, which is what we want to minimize the losses. Because when the device is on, its power loss is VCE set into the current flowing through it. So the current, how much current is flowing through the circuit, again it will depend on the external circuit, what voltage you are applying, what is the load resistance. So to minimize the power loss, your VCE saturation should be pretty low. That is why you should apply suitable gate current so that your device is driven into hard saturation. So your VCE set is much lesser. So this is the concept of load time. I believe most of you know, right? I'm not going into the detail. And the way you switch on and off, please note this carefully. The switching behavior of any power electronic device, it depends on the circuit it is in. So it is not very generalized. It depends on the circuit. So I'll show you shortly. So for this particular circuit, what we are assuming this is a kind of inductive load. So to simplify the analysis, let's say there is a current source sitting over here. Its current is pretty constant. Let's say it is 10 ampere. So when the device is turned off, the 10 ampere current is getting circulated through the diode. Okay. And voltage across this device is same as your VDC, because when diode is turned on, let's say voltage across this is 0. So now this device has to block this entire amount of source voltage. So this is the case that your voltage across the device is VD itself. Now once you, and remember the VB is negative because it was in turn off zone. So to turn it on, you will apply a positive voltage. So when you apply a positive voltage from the gate base drive circuit, so this side plus, this side minus, and also remember that in between the gate drive circuit and your base emitter junction, there may be a resistance to limit the current. And of course, in the layout path, you will have little bit of inductance. Then this device, you can show it to be a kind of capacitive behavior. So all those parasitic as well as some desired elements are there in between your base drive and the actual base emitter junction, right? So even if you give positive gate voltage quickly, the actual VB, it won't change suddenly, right? Due to this effect of this intermediate parameters. So VB, you will slowly, it will increase. Base drive current will also increase. So once the base current is formed, so then your first, due to influence of base current, your collector current will start building up. But remember, when collector current is building up, let's say it is 2 ampere. So that means the diode has to carry the remaining 8 ampere, right? So that the diode has to be till forward bias. So as a result, till your collector current is more than 10 ampere or it reaches 10 ampere. 10 ampere is this 10 ampere. So till that time, diode has to be forward bias. And as a result, the voltage across the device should be same as your VD. Because when diode is forward bias, voltage across it, we are assuming it to be 0. Now, once the collector current tries to exceed this 10 ampere, then only this diode gets turned off. And then first your device goes to the active zone, then quasi saturation zone, then finally it reaches your hard saturation zone. Okay. So during active zone, you know the resistance of the path is higher. So that is why, but as current is as current starts flowing, then more charge carriers start flooding in your those zones, drift region and other zones. So then resistance comes down. As a result, your voltage drop also starts coming down. In Hertz saturation, it is getting totally flooded up. So V set is pretty low there. And during switch off zone, exactly the reverse phenomena happens. So first it was in Hertz saturation, then it goes to the quasi saturation, then it goes to the active zone, then finally it turns off. So basically, again, for any power electronic device, if you want to turn it off, you have to take out all the charge that was remaining in the drift region or in the depletion region. You have to sweep them out. So this takes some amount of time. Finally, when the depletion region is properly formed, then on the device regains its blocking capability. So till that time, the device will be conducting current. The difference between this part, you have to remember, it is kind of a controlled base current that you are giving. It is not sudden change. In this circuit, there is a sudden change. And their characteristic difference is that here it was going to zero quite smoothly, but in this zone there is a phenomena called tail current tailing in BJT, which actually makes the BJT a bit slower device because due to this tailing phenomena. So if you give a controlled DIDT in the base current, then you are allowing the base to have more control over sweeping the charge carrier from the drift region. So it can take out the charge in the drift region smoothly. But if you are allowing your base drive current to quickly go to negative, it cannot take out the charge remaining in the drift region swiftly. There will still remain some charge carrier in the drift region. So you have to entirely depend on the recombination for those charge carrier to get eliminated or removed. So that is why recombination generally is a slow process. So it takes a lot of time for entirely making them out of the scope. So this is you have a high tailing current in the BJT when you have abrupt change of gate current. So typically this is the case, and this is the reason if you want very high switching frequency, BJT is not very preferred. There generally you go with MOSFET. And yeah, as I was mentioning, the switching behavior depends on the loading condition. So here it's just a resistive kind of load. This is your DC voltage. So, and in our previous case, what we have assumed, there is a current source in parallel to a diode, right? So it is for you to check what is the difference in the switching behavior. You can see here current can start building up and the voltage is falling down, right? But if you see the previous case, when current was increasing, the voltage was not falling down initially, right? So why that is coming is because due to this diode, because as till your collector current reaches this current source value, the diode has to be conducting the remaining amount of current. But here this is not the case. So whatever is collector current, that same current has to flow through this resistance also, right? And as a result, there will be some voltage drop. So the voltage appearing across your device is the DC voltage minus this drop. So the voltage starts dropping from the moment when your collector currents start building up. So as far as the switching conduction loss is concerned, it's pretty straightforward. You read what is VC set from the datasheet. Please remember, VC set is not a constant value. You have to look at the datasheet. It depends on the current rating and the temperature of your operating conditions. So if you are selecting a higher collector current, your VC set is going to be higher also. So from the datasheet, you have to read for your given application, what is the VC set, and IC average you calculate from the circuit. Generally what you do is that you draw the current waveform, and from that you compute its average current, and then you calculate this conduction loss. The loss during off condition is again negligible, and during the switching period, So for simplicity, you can assume that this VCC. So during this zone there is no loss. During this zone, you can assume this voltage waveform to be simplistic, like this kind of a straight line. So you can represent it by this equation, and the current waveform you can simply assume like this straight line after that. So this is the zone where you are having this switching loss, because after that basically conduction starts. So then you enter into the conduction loss zone. So this is the switching loss zone, turn on loss. This is the turn on. So you express the voltage and current. Basically, it's a straight line equation, and then you multiply them and integrate over this zone. So this TR, again, it will be mentioned in the data sheet. You can read from there. So then you solve these simple equations and you calculate what is the switching turn on loss. Again, during the off stage, you can apply similar equations, and finally you can get the switching loss. So during the tutorial, we'll be solving one or two problems in this zone. So there, please, so before that you revise these equations. It's pretty straightforward. There is nothing difficult here. And of course, you have to go through the data sheet before selecting a device for a given application. So these are of very particular interest. What is your the voltage, blocking voltage, how much current your device can carry, right? Then this time intervals for switching information, this VC set. So if you are not very familiar with datasheet reading, you can roughly start taking this to be on the conservative side. So let me quickly check if I missed anything. Yeah, so this is what from the BJT side. For BJT, the main, I'm just summarizing again. So BJT is a device which you can turn on and turn off by providing suitable gate current. BJT is not preferred. BJT cannot block reverse voltage. It can block reverse voltage for a very small amount, which is negligible. So it's safe to assume that they cannot block reverse voltage. So if in any circuit you need a switch which requires reverse voltage blocking also, when the device is not conducting, it is supposed to block reverse voltage, then BJT is not a choice. And switching behavior wise, BJT takes slightly less, more time than the MOSFET. So if you need faster switching frequency kind of application, then you go with MOSFET, not BJT. In fact, in most of our future lectures, all the modules that we'll be covering will be mostly concerned about the thyristor for AC-DC converter. And for DC-DC and DC-AC, our main focus will be on the MOSFET and IGBT. So these two will be discussing in slightly more detail in the next two classes, because then also we will spend some time discussing the more slightly advanced switches, this silicon carbide and gallium nitride, which are known as wide band gap devices.